Hello, this is our institute and I am Sasha Mandel. Now, this log is for line learning, which I am going to be calling lining from now on. Basically, the premise of this log is to discuss a better way to learn lines. I was thinking quite a lot about this recently, and I thought to myself, when I was an actor training, no one told me how to learn lines. In fact, even before that, when I first got into drama, I've asked other people, who taught them how to learn lines. I'm trying to figure out the most efficient way to get the lines deeply embedded into our hard drive, our brain. So I am performing at a one-night-only show, and I've used this opportunity to completely flip on its head how I learn lines. So I have used a white sheet perspective and completely tried to forget everything that I have previously done in regards to line learning. I mean, obviously there is going to be some element of the past in me, but let's just dive in. Let's just dive in as to how I've been doing it. What I've realised is that with a script, Exhibit A, what is it? It is the author's creative endeavours to express himself. Now, I'm now starting to see these scripts just like a musician would see a piece of music written by a composer. You know, a composer of music is trying to evoke certain emotions, even in opera and things like that. And just like that, the writer is trying to evoke ideas, their view, their opinion, a debate, whatever it is. Anyway, a very simple tool which was taught to us at drama school is something called uniting, which is one of the measurements in which you can break down a script. So you can break down a script into its single elements. So a quick explanation of what I think uniting is. Again, if I've got it wrong or if there is a better way to explain it, please do let me know and I can re-edit this video to give a better explanation, or I can put it in the notes or whatever. Anyway, so my version of uniting is there are a number of rules to when a unit changes. One of them being if a character walks in or exits. But once they're in the scene, they're pretty much locked in. So another rule for me is that the topic has changed, or a new piece of information has been revealed that has now made it an irreversible change. There we go. So anyway, I don't want to go too deep into units, but that is how I see things. So what I did with the script is, in fact, why don't we come a little closer? So, for example, okay, this is a unit, Unit 5, Unit 6, Unit 7. So then what I've now done is the scenes that I'm in, I have completely broken it down into its compartments of units. Finally, down to the nitty-gritty, the line learning. So what I do is I imagine I know nothing about line learning. So let's just use Unit 2. Okay. So just because Unit 2 is on one page, let's use Unit 2 as a way to explain what I do. Okay? So, the first step is to use a voice recording app, which comes with iPhones and Androids and things. So it's just a voice note. So what we do is we start by saying, it's a horse. And then I click my fingers as a sort of audio cue. Then I record it again. It's a horse. Okay, then a horse. And what I do is every time I add a sentence, and I add everyone's lines. Now, the reason I do that, so what I want to do is I want to find a process or a method in which you learn all of the people's lines, because again, I was talking to someone that is a very proficient line learner, and she says to me that you should almost know the other people's lines. Now, the way I see it is that if you are just waiting for a cue, you're not actually listening, you're not in the moment, you're not present. But if you know the lines, then you can better foresee the choice ahead. And this is all happening on a subconscious level. So the more you know of the piece, the better you can react. So I'm now attempting to try and learn everyone's lines. So, as I said, you continue doing that, adding each sentence as you go along, so it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what happens is you've repeated that unit 8 to 9 times as you're slowly adding it. As you're slowly building up the uniting, you're repeating it over and over and over again. And what you're doing as well is you're looking at the word and repeating the words. So again, like I said, I'm trying, again, this is all experiment. I am clicking between each sentence. So it's a horse. It's a horse. Okay, then, a horse. It's a horse. Okay, then, a horse. Is that your statement, Andy? It's a horse. Okay, then, a horse. Is that your statement, Andy? It's a metaphor, etc., etc., etc. Then listen to the recording again. But what I do is I pause after each time I've built a sentence to repeat it. So, for example, it's a horse. Okay, then, a horse. Is that a statement, Andy? It's a metaphor. For what? Pause. It's a horse. Okay, then, a horse. Is that your statement, Andy? It's a metaphor. For what? You wouldn't understand, etc., etc. So that is the basic premise of using the voice notes. Now, once you've gotten off that, you can then add it to an app, a fantastic app that I've got called Line Learner. Now, what that does is you can record your lines and their lines, and then your lines aren't being said, so you've got the perfect amount of time to say your lines, and then they have their lines being read, so you don't need to have someone read the lines out for you over and over again. So you can then practice almost with a scene partner, a very rudimental, basic scene partner, but a scene partner nonetheless. Anyway, so then what you do is you record it into the Line Learner, the unit, and then you then do it back. So then you already have a very sort of slight idea of whose lines are being said, not just yours, but theirs as well. And I'm toying with the idea basically because I was doing the same theory of first sentence, second sentence, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was playing with that idea as well with the unit. So once you've got, unit 1 down, you do it through Line Learner, then you do units 1 and 2, then you do units 1, 2 and 3. But I mean, it proved really long, so I was thinking of potentially finding a way to basically just not do that. Literally just to do it unit by unit. And then, and if I'm not making sense, please do let me know. What I've realized is that maybe doing it with the units, the theory of 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a little bit too long. I'm going to try both ways. I have tried both ways. Yeah. So whilst you're doing the voice noted version of the download of the lines, I will call it, is don't be afraid to have the script in hand, and because then you get that immediate feedback. If you're wrong, you can look at the line quicker. And so basically, the way I see it is that you are slowly launching yourself off the script. So don't be afraid that you're going to be using the script for the first 2-3 sessions of line learning. It should get to the point where you disappear from the script and it is embedded in you. Let's go back to the clicking. For some reason, I felt that it would be an audio cue to compartmentalize each sentence, so that each click would signify the new thought. And I'm not sure if other people have done that before, probably have, but it seems to have worked in terms of also giving it a rhythm, just so it's a bit like scales. So this part of the creative process is the scales. What I've realized with this is it's giving you a lot. It's doubling up on work, so you're working smart. So with the line learning, what you're doing is you are breaking it into units, breaking it into beats. It's almost like a unified theory or a unified process where it's all got to do with the line learning, because the line learning is the most important part of creating a character from a script. If you are learning per unit as well, you are also ingraining the beat change more profoundly. And it's just like a tempo change, or like a musician is piano and forte. It's helping you really ingrain the sort of the mechanics of the scene, and it also helps you to navigate the beat changes and the unit changes. I think that's all I've got in regards to the actual mechanics. If I haven't made sense, please do let me know, or where I've started to not make sense, please let me know. But in regards to the amount of time practicing, it was an interesting thing, because that is something else that I need to think about as well, which is how long can one concentrate for? So in the book that I'm reading, A Road to Excellence, which is an in-depth analysis of experts, they talk a lot about deliberate practice.
Deliberate practice is a well-defined task with an appropriate difficulty level for the particular individual, informative feedback, and opportunity for repetition and corrections of errors.
That's something I can talk about in depth in another video, but what they're basically saying is that it's about the amount of time. So what they found with expert violinists is that they will probably, you'd think that they probably practice 9-10 hours a day, but in fact what they do is they practice for about 4 hours a week.
Correction, I actually meant day.
Practice. So they might be only working for 4 hours, but they are in a very focused and concentrated zone when they are making that practice. So if they do 4 hours a day, but they are intensely focused, what you have to do is you can't burn yourself out. So what they found is that it's about an hour for top musicians, will be able to do extremely focused practice for about an hour before their concentration wanes. Now, if you're starting out, you should probably start at about 20 minutes and slowly build your way up, because otherwise you'll have burnouts, which is what I call it. So I worked out. I had about 14 units to learn in one scene, which was over about 6 pages, and I clocked up all the hours. It was about 4.5 hours I learned it. Obviously, that wasn't completely embedded in me, but it was off the page. And then I had a rehearsal today, and I was able to perform off book with a few exceptions. Now, going back to that is that I was able to make notes on which units I was able to be a lot more specific than I would be, and I can go back to the units on the voice notes and redo the exercises of the units that I had to refer back to the script for. So again, going back to this new technique with specificity, you're able to locate the problems within the text and then drill those again and again until you have ironed out the gaps within your mind. It was long. Well, I don't know. I haven't timed myself doing it normally, so it felt like intense practice. But I would sometimes go on to an hour and a half and I would lose all concentration. So I now know for next time is to do it in hour segments. And no matter where I am, it's just to stop. The thing that I'm trying to figure out now is how long to stop for until you can get to your top concentration. So I see it's almost like bars in a video game and your concentration goes down to 0. How long does it take for that bar to go completely back up to full life? I think that's as much as I can really kind of talk about now. What I'm going to be doing for the next session or the next rehearsal is I will look at those units and iron those out. But there is also a second scene. Now, what was difficult with this time was that I was making up a framework of practice while learning the lines. Whereas now I've got a rudimentary framework, I will be able to hopefully decrease the amount of time of the initial download of material for the second scene, which is roughly about the same amount of pages and units as the first scene. So we'll see how that goes. If you have any questions, please do let me know. If you have any suggestions or nuggets of wisdom, I would absolutely love to hear from you. There are other things. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of something huge, but more specifically, even just the beginning of the line learning process. There is research in long-form digit learning. There is mind palaces. There is memory competitions that I need to research. There is mental representations using symbols for words and things. So as I get deeper and deeper, I will hopefully find a unified theory of line learning. Thank you. This has been wonderful. Bye now.